Okay. All right, without further ado, I'm going to welcome Margaret. She will kick us off with the South Park Arboretum and South Park Bridge. Can you, okay, see this?
That's perfect, thank you. Okay, good evening, welcome. As Z pointed out, we're just really happy that you're here, and I'm excited to catch you up on where we've come since the fall. So the work that I'm leading as director and curator of South Park Arboretum is a dream, to say the least. So as we know, Frederick Law Olmsted designed the 850-acre park system, but he was very specific about South Park. So we know there's 6 parks, 7 parkways, 8 circles. And of those 6 parks, he was very intentional. He wanted the South Park to be an arboretum. So I'm working on that 11-phase restoration now. And there we go. Okay, so we have a mission statement for the Arboretum, and our goal is really to foster connection between people, plants, and place. So we are 155 acres with a 27-acre man-made lake. As you know, last year we received global recognition as a level 1 ArbNet accredited Arboretum. And we are one of the 6 parks in the entire park system, and we have over 1,200 trees in our collection. So the big effort in 2023 was very exciting. The idea was that I was working with a multidisciplinary team to identify a new chapter for the Ridge Road entrance. And if you're not familiar, I'll be showing you in a minute. These are the main objectives of that conceptual design plan project. So creating what we are deeming the nursery complex, a new facility for office space, community meeting space, like something similar to Tosh Collins, educational programming that was really important to Olmsted and his vision for the Arboretum, that people could always interact with plants and be curious about them. A container nursery. This is an image of what a container nursery looks like. The heart and soul of any arboretum is the collection of plants. So in order for us to grow sustainably, we're looking to put in over 5,000 plants in the next 20 to 30 years. We need to do that sustainably and through a container nursery. This is a really important component of the project. As most of you probably know, when Olmsted designed the system at South Park, it included the botanic gardens that we know and love today as Buffalo and Erie County Botanic Gardens. However, in 1981, they broke off. They're a new cultural. We love the work that they do. We're great partners with them. However, that distinction is important in that having a new entry space at Ridge Road will allow people to understand that we do in fact have an arboretum and they can feel welcome there. And then of course, office space. So those were the objectives. I know when we met in the fall, I had an opportunity to share with you the project timeline, but this is the team, really, really great group. This is the multidiscipline folks. So Herr Schout was the lead landscape architect on the project, and then we worked with Molly Vendura, Nell Gardner. They're our New York State licensed landscape architect. We had a plant expert, a nursery expert, Mariani Plants. Our local architecture, Flynn Battaglia firm was involved, and this is the site that we were working on. So just to orient you, this is South Park Ave. This is the Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Gardens, the lake, and this is the Ridge Road entrance. Okay, so there's a lot of history. I shared this with you last time, but just as a quick recap, I was really impressed with the multidisciplinary team and how they paid attention to what was once on site. So historically, the site contained greenhouses, a director's dwelling, which you see in the first building, a potting shed, and it was very much this working operational nursery and nursery grounds. Unfortunately, those buildings were lost, we believe, to fire. And so hence the need to reconsider this site. So what would Olmsted do? This was kind of the lens that we looked through as a multidisciplinary design team to make sure that we were honoring the master himself, Frederick Law Olmsted, and his vision for our park system. These were some of the concepts, design concepts that were initially brought to a design charrette that I held last summer. It was open to the public. We did hold that at Lackawanna Public Library. It was a really great opportunity for people to weigh in. And as a result, we developed there was a scorecard, excuse me, that was passed out and everyone had an opportunity to vote. And that played into the concepts that were developed. So I'm very pleased with the public engagement piece and how we were able to bring everyone together. So I just want to share with you the organizational diagram and some of the renderings representing this new area. So I won't go through all of them, but if you can imagine, this is Ridge Road. One major shift is that we're looking to reorient parking north-south. You see visitor parking, the orange on the right. And then to create a bus lay-by-lay or bus drop-off in the front portion of the site. We are expecting to host large groups of people, school groups down the road. The flexible lawn will allow for a safe place. Many of you came to us before saying, hey, with the golf course still at South Park, you know, there's stray golf balls, that kind of thing. So we really wanted to be intentional about the green space at this newly designed portion of the park. We're also looking to honor the historic spaces that I had pointed out in the last slide, those buildings that were once there. We're planning to have the building complex, which would allow for, you know, gathering space like this, similar to this. Also an outdoor teaching garden, the container nursery, garage space, so that we can bring our equipment over. We're currently sharing with the Botanic Gardens. Yes.
Is that bus space in front long enough so that a bus can park there, stay there?
I love that question. So we did have I asked the firm to do a turning radii assessment to make sure that they could get in and out. And so there is space for them to get out here and also here. But I think you're asking more like, is it kind of a permanent space? It's meant to be like maybe for like a 10 or 15 minute kind of situation where they're
just hang out there and wait for people to
correct, right? I mean, they could stay there for, you know, a few minutes, that kind of thing. But the parking lot is the option for individual guests, that type of thing.
And the auto parking that direction is so much better than the way you hit in front.
I'm so glad. Thank you for that. I'm really pleased to hear that feedback, because what we want folks to understand and love and know is that plants are the heart of this arboretum, right? And so we wanted the experience to be intentional. And so when you're first entering and you're being introduced to this 155 acre arboretum, you're seeing green space. So we have flexible garden spaces in letters B and C. The building complex, this is just kind of that bringing it to life, right? We're also looking to restore the pit greenhouse on the back end, which was original to, it's a geothermal, so partially submerged underground greenhouse, and something that we're looking to bring back. Let's see here. These are site sections showing the difference. So this is the existing condition. And you see Ridge Road and how the existing parking lot is what you're experiencing when you first arrive. Whereas in the proposed condition here, you're seeing an opportunity for the bus drop off. And then you're seeing these additions of the building complex, container nursery, also a service road through the back end for our operations and forestry folks. So this is the architectural, Flynn Natalia put together this floor plan, just kind of highlighting. So I can show you in a rendering what this looks like, but it's an opportunity, like a partially covered gathering space with restrooms attached on the side, classroom space, office suite, garage space, and then of course the pit greenhouse. So this is the rendering of the proposed nursery complex building. So the ornamentation that you see along the roof lines, if you remember from the director's dwelling, there's some similarities. The materiality, the stone and the wood is being pulled. And so there's an opportunity to celebrate what was once there, but to create something new. this image just it gives me chills every time. So it's this idea of bringing the meadow to life, right? The meadow is currently being occupied by the holes of the golf course, right? Down the road, that our intention with the appropriate permissions is to bring that meadow back. But I think this plant palette really speaks to this Olmstedian landscape. It's very welcoming, as you can see. And this literally brought me to tears. So this is the portion, and it may sound a little cheesy, but it's just such a great opportunity to bring folks together, and maybe someday we can have you all gather under here for a tour, but an opportunity for us to showcase history of the Arboretum. This is the working container nursery. We do anticipate there being school groups coming through and having safe exchange between both groups. Okay, moving on. I know at our last meeting, I had an opportunity to share with you what was happening at the South Park Loop Bridge, and there was federal funding made available. This project started in, I believe, August of 2023 to replace the bridge. It was no longer functional. How many of you have been out recently? Great. The plantings are going in this week. It's been I've been very fortunate to work with GPI. Tim Coyle is our point person there, and they've done a beautiful job of highlighting the historic components of the bridge. So if you see, there's new lamp posts flanking either side. There's also drainage swales being put in because prior the water had no place to go. It was pooling up. It was creating ice pockets, which is dangerous. And then I had an opportunity to put together a planting plan. I could spend all night. I know there's plenty of other updates. So I'm just going to say that while South Park is a challenging site, I was able to develop a planting rationale that allows for direct alignment with Olmsted's 1895 historic planting plan, which we have in our archives. And for those species that we know now are invasive that Olmsted cited over 120 years, we're replacing with native species that are also bank stabilizing because this is along the bridge plantings. Also species reflective of Olmsted's original plant family designations. So this is the planting list. There were a few tweaks based on availability, but for the most part, it's really well represented. And I encourage you to check it out. This is a quick snapshot of the historic plant list. So I had an opportunity to go through and see literally what Olmsted, this is the bridge historically. So very neat. So I was able to highlight plants from the rose and the Fabaceae or locust family. And you can see the orange is the locust and the pink is the rose. These are some of the plants that you will find. There are some substitutions, but for the most part, and you can see the rationale associated with each. So the Siberian pea shrub, it's very salt tolerant, being next to the bridge, very colorful. We have the 9-bark, which we know is native. It's also a bank stabilizing species. So so beautiful. I was like, just such a joy being out there this week. Also, look at these, aren't they beautiful? So it brings in pollinators. It's also a great habitat for migratory birds, but introducing some wetland shrubs to help that community along the bridge, the button bush here. This smells wonderful. The spice bush, Indario benzoin, a few of those are going in. I think we already saw that one. And then the redbud, which is a native. Also the winter king hawthorn. It's a cultivar of hawthorn that's a little bit more tolerant to the disease that impacts the hawthorn species. This is the planting plan that I put together, and you can find that on the back table. These are pictures from the other day. It's so exciting. And these are pictures from Tuesday with that fog that we had, but it's such a dream, and I'm very, very excited that these new plantings have gone in. These are the 9-bark, the slope stabilizing shrubs that are gone in. And this was taken just yesterday. You can really see that drainage swale and how it's just going to be a really great improvement. For your knowledge, on Monday, they'll be paving. So if you do go through and you frequent, there might be a small workaround, but you should be able to pass through the sidewalk. So the project is wrapping up in the next 2 weeks. And then very briefly, we launched in November. It was after our last meeting. I've been working on it for a long time with a group, with a lot of people a lot of colleagues. It is the South Park Arboretum Plant Finder. So you can go and take a look at any of our plants. The orange circles here highlight our heritage trees, our Olmsted originals that date back over 130 years. Please check it out and give me your feedback. These orange blobs are showing the mapping that we did of the invasive species. And that's everything that I have for you. Should I hold any questions? Okay.
Anyone has questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, 3 days?
Yes.
My only question is how much of what you were showing us depends on future funding?
Great question. So currently our objective as an organization is financial sustainability for our entire organization, and the capital campaign that will be necessary to raise funds for the nursery complex. So we're looking at high end 11.5 million, low end 8.5 million. That is, it's not the top priority at this moment. However, I did receive permission from the board to look at a phased approach. So we are working on developing tactics to bring in the necessary funds and move the project forward. Great question.
Curious. I expect to live another maybe 20 years or so. I just want to see it all done. What do you think? What are you talking phases?
It would be my joy to have you there for the ribbon cutting. And I will do my very best because it's a really important project and it's meant for the community. So thank you for that. Great question. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are they gonna open Ring Road again?
So Ring Road was, the City of Buffalo and Buffalo Olmsted Parks Conservancy, we came together, put a survey out to the public, and the public came back unanimously saying, well, not unanimously, but there was a majority saying we would like Ring Road closed. So for the foreseeable future, Ring Road is closed to traffic. And I did not mention this. We have a gate at Hopkins Road, which is new, and it is a massive improvement for safety because people like to cut through the park and it's not safe. So this gate is really improving things. And if you've been out recently, you may have seen it.
Couldn't get down Hopkins like he wanted to, so he was a little mad. Frustrated. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, we are going to be putting boulders to alongside the gate to try to limit people cutting across, but certainly any fire trucks or emergency vehicles need to get in, they can cut the locks and they're fully prepared to do that.
I noticed the lake is low. Is that anything with construction of the bridge or?
So I think it just has to do with rainfall. The work that's been done, they were very sensitive to, work as quickly as possible. But yeah, I know that we didn't have, as we know, we didn't have a lot of snow this winter. But yeah, that's a great point. So yes, the plan, so this, the total Arboretum restoration is 11 phases. Within each phase, there's multiple sub phases, and phase 5A and B we're in phase 2 currently, are going to address the lake. We are intending to do an environmental assessment in phase 5A, and 5B, we'll dredge the lake. And so there will need to be a safe movement of the fauna. We'll likely move them to the north side, the western side of the lake, because there's 2 portions. Yeah, thank you guys for the questions. Any other thoughts? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Just need to sort this out real quick. Folks on Zoom, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your Zoom hand and I'll call on you. You can still hear us, right? Sarah and Mark? All right, so next things on updates, we have still at South Park Golf Clubhouse. It's currently in the process. We have received bids, but they were over budget, so we are in the process of working that out. And drawings are being finalized with the architect. Basically, this clubhouse, the plan is to upgrade it and making sure that ADA accessible bathrooms and also more accessible for golfers and park users in general. Timeline is TBD, but more to come. Hopefully by the fall, when we give you guys an update again, we would have more concrete details. The softball fields by Hopkins Road. So to follow up on Margaret's point with the gate right there, this location is kind of basically the entrance to at Hopkins, and there's two softball fields. As part of the phase 2 arboretum plan is the removal of this softball diamonds, but we wanted to check in with you guys to see how you feel about that. And on BOPC's end, the condition, based on our observation of the assessment of the condition, is the condition right now is suitable for informal pickup games, but not, I guess it hasn't been used in a way where formal tournaments or games have been used, and is overall underutilized as compared to other diamonds. Also, I believe the city has plans to have more of such diamonds close by to this location. But we wanted to check in with you guys to see how you feel, especially if you live by the park, or if you have kids or you know people who use these diamonds. What do you think?
They're a mess.
Nobody ever plays this. Even dry times, walking, if I walk through, go along the wood line, it's just like, it was always wet.
Yeah.
So.
More people than golf.
Yeah,
there.
that's a non-official driving range.
Right.
Okay, so, and to that point, on Olmsted's end, we do not have funding to repair these either. So we don't want to be in a situation where it's kind of like a limbo, right? So, we're still working with the city on different things, but based on this and your feedback, thank you. We'll share that in the notes as well.
It's not a long.
What would you do with it?
So historically,
Mhm.
there were strolling pathways. And I can pull up a picture if anyone's interested, north in that whole area. And what was interesting about that particular area is that there were understory plantings, so a lot of woody shrubs, herbaceous plants. And so as part of phase 2 efforts, that is one component of it, in order to bring more opportunities for park goers to experience the trees and shrubs in a more like in a safer environment, right? Because it's outside of the purview of the golf course.
Backstop, is that part of the park?
Behind the backstop, like the
wooden
fill.
land.
I'm not too sure, actually. Margaret, do you know by any chance?
I know that there are a number of industrial sites behind.
Yeah, there's a junkyard
Right.
closer up to the bridge, but
Yeah,
that area there, like if you go up Hopkins to that one clearing, people park there all the time and smoke
Right.
weed and stuff,
Yeah.
or feed deer. I'm just curious of what, because there's a lot of garbage and stuff, a lot of invasive.
yeah.
buckthorn and all that.
Right, the area just on the other side of Hopkins, we refer to as the Northwoods, and the plan for phase 6 of Arboretum restoration is to rehab that area, but I can take a look and see. It's a little foggy to me, the owners of that property, but that's a good question.
Thank you. Okay, so remove the softball diamonds. That's a consensus. All right, thank you. Next item is the Casanova Park soccer field at Porter's is getting City of Buffalo art funding, which is great. And the plan is to restore and protect the soccer field. And also, if you're familiar with Cas, there's a parking lot there right by between the creek and the soccer field. To also include site work at that area and overall make it a more robust athletic field for people to use. Any questions on this? We're in the process, the city's in the process of developing an RFP. Casanova Park Playground, yeah. So this is very exciting because it's finally approved and we've ordered equipment. So if you want to take a look about what equipment will be installed, ordered and installed, it's all on the back there in the maps if you want to look up close, but I will go through a little bit here. Basically, these are the bullet points of the project. The design and equipment is finalized. We'll be working on resolving the splash pad drainage issues as part of this project. If you have been to the splash pad in the recent years, there's always flooding, not flooding, but like pools of water that accumulate at the sides of the splash pad. So we want to resolve that so that kids can be more safe and they're not trudging through like the park and then the playground and then go back to the splash pad, because that led to more clogging in the pipes of the splash pad. Overall, not a good situation. So that is all part of this. This is the map the plan that I have at the back and the side map of the playground. So over here in that rectangle is a zip line. This here is swing set. This here is 5 to 12. No, the younger kids. So 2 to 5. And then here is 5 to 12. And then in the middle here are some of the freestanding play, they call it, like for any ages. And then there is a pathway and a splash pad is in that side. So some close-up views of the playground equipment, 2 to 5-year-old equipment, like some of this here, like that equipment, for example, I believe it's called a wiggle round, is wheelchair accessible, so a child or an individual on wheelchair can enter that play equipment without getting off their wheelchair on their own. So this supports independent play. And then there's the surfacing is a mix of mulch and not mulch, sorry, it's a mix of wood chips and pour in place rubber. Pour in place, what's the word called? Pour in place. Yeah, pour in place, yes. And so and partly because pour in place will help with accessing many different areas. Wood chips is also accessible as long as we maintain it according to that standard. This is another view of the 5 to 12 play areas. So over here you would see this gray thing means it's like a asphalt, and then a child or individual on wheelchair can go up here and then go there and engage in some play. Another view for the 5 to 12. And like I mentioned, the freestanding play, which supports children of all ages. Any questions? Yes.
I think I had mentioned during the last meeting that the walking, the paved path that would bring you to the play area is just terribly dangerous and pothole. And it's just difficult to walk. It's difficult on a bicycle, and it has not improved at all. It's gotten worse since the last time we talked about it. So I'm just wondering, is there anything in this plan that addresses
You're
it all?
referring to the pathway behind the casino.
It goes from
Right.
behind the casino to walking past
Yeah,
this
to the-
and going to Warren's Farm, way up to the parking lot.
Okay, I know the pathways that go in the playground itself is part of the project, but it's a very lean budget. So I'm not too sure if that pathway is included, but pathway improvements is something that is always top of mind and definitely priority, right? So even if, like, consider it as phases, there are phases to every park project in the parks and in the city in general. So we can take things like prioritizing this first so that we can get this improved. And then if pathways is the issue for the next phase per se, that we can find funding again to make sure that we can restore that. I will look into that pathway. Thank you. So a few FAQs, in case anyone was interested. Basically, it took longer than expected. I think we were delayed by about over a year. It was a planning process. So like many phases, there were challenges that came up that we had to resolve. And we didn't want to rush into it and not do a good job overall because it's a very expensive project. And we wanted to make sure that it's the best possible playground for the South Buffalo community. No trees were affected in this project. The planners and architects were committed to making sure that the tree canopy was intact. New benches and picnic tables are not within the budget for this project, but we are committed to seeking funding for future implementations. Picnic tables, we realize that it's important to that playground and people use it all the time. So we are looking into alternative resources into how we can rehabilitate the picnic benches for this playground. Two final things. So I mentioned the splash pad we're working with the contractor in the city on repairing the drainage problems. In terms of timeline, we foresee, because equipment takes probably about a few months to come here. We've ordered it already. It's probably coming in late summer, fall. And we anticipate construction to take place in the fall. So for the playground to be open throughout the summer still. And we'll let everyone know once we'll send out by email and on social, and we'll probably close both amenities about a month before construction is to take place. Any questions? Okay. Yes.
Will the splash pad repair problems affect the building of like if there's a problem with that, I'm assuming it's gonna affect the ability to build a playground too, right?
So
That has to be done first.
I don't know which one is done, but both projects, both splash pad and playground project is going to be done together. Like it's in the same project. So I'm sure the architects and the planners are taking into account the processes and making sure that it's done well. Okay. Next item is on wayfinding and signage. So like per last meeting, if those of you who are here, we had some new signage, and this is just a recap in South and Cass Park. So the new signs are the ones listed here. And for Cass Park. And then in this year, we'll be having additional new signage, and we got funding for 3 parks in the park system, Cass, Delaware, and Riverside. Only first phase, promise we're not forgetting about South, but also South Park has the Arboretum project going on, so we are prioritizing these 3 parks first. So for Cass Park, the additional new signage to be completed in phase 2 in 2024 are the ones in the yellow circle over here. And they include ID signs and also orientation and interpretive signage. Interpretive signage right now is, let me give you a closer look. So phase 1, basically I said 9 new, 6 refresh signs complete. Phase 2, group 1, more ID, directional, and regulation signs in progress. There's about 12 signs in the park. And then we are working in the planning conversation phase now with communities on interpretive signage, on the content for the interpretive signage, and specifically for Cass, we wanted to highlight a lot about the history of the indigenous community back here in Cass Park. So we're working with Dr. Corwin. He is a UB professor and also a member of the Seneca Nation. And he's helping us with guiding and also advice on content for how we can highlight and amplify the history. I know that signage is also planned for like the baseball history in Cass Park, which is obviously very significant, and so on. But if you as park neighbors have any thoughts on some stories that you would like us to share, especially if you have old photos or old narratives that you want, feel free to reach out, and we would love to hear and see how we can incorporate them in one way or another. If it's not on the sign, maybe we can put it on our website or for social media, etc. Yes.
I just have a question. Is there any way that you can incorporate like a QR code, like say at the playground or wherever, where a person could scan that and then they could learn more about what's happening or what the future holds for this playground or what's the future holds for the softball field or what you're doing?
Yeah.
So people.
You mean right now?
Well, yeah, just like so people can go up and
Yesterday.
No, so are you referring to like?
Referring to,
Yeah.
so that people could get information about what is happening.
Sure.
Because
So-
otherwise, because everybody's gonna call me up, so what they say?
I see, yeah. Interesting. Let me come back on that, because I wanted to ask everyone on your thoughts about community updates. So let me hold that thought and
Okay.
we'll come back to that later. Okay, any questions on the interpretive signage or wayfinding signage in general? Right. How am I doing on time? Okay. Next item on security. So these are examples of vandalism and some security issues we had last year. I believe I did share it as well. Just a recap in case anyone want to reflect on what happened. I won't go through everything, but basically we have security cameras in 3 locations in Cass Park. The Cass Golf Pro Shop, the Shelter House interior and exterior, and at the exterior of the Cass Casino. They are not monitored by BPD, they are monitored by our staff, and I'm sure Jonathan and Chris look at it daily. So, and if there are any issues, it just gives us leverage and also support if we need to report anything, or if something happens, we know what our next steps are.
Are they already there?
They are there.
What should we do if we're walking or biking through the park and we see something that just doesn't look right? The other day, as I was walking the path, I was past the playground, and I was heading toward Lawrence Pond Way in the parking lot. And to the left, from a distance, there was a man on his knees digging and digging and digging under one of the trees.
Okay.
And it wasn't like it wasn't like someone with a metal detector. I didn't see him trying to put anything in there. I didn't see him pull anything out. Just was digging and digging and digging. And he wasn't a staff member.
Okay.
I have a photo of him from a distance if anyone is curious, but it just seemed so strange to me. He kept on looking up, looking suspicious, but he also had a bright yellow cap. So I'm thinking, wear something different next time you're doing something dumb. But I didn't know who to contact.
Sure. Interesting.
Did you happen to go back to see if he moved something?
You know what, I haven't, good, and you know what, I'm at the age where I get forgetful, and I just remembered it just now, but I'll have to get up.
Yeah. That is a problem I noticed at South Park Lake.
Yeah.
Metal detector, people going and digging and not filling their holes in even. There's quite a bit of that happening. I don't know what you can do about it, but.
Yeah.
It's against the city code for anyone to be digging in any city property. And so no one should be at all, replacing divots or not, they really shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Margaret, you were saying?
Oh, may I ask you were observing that along South Park Lake?
Pardon?
You observed them digging holes
Yeah,
along the lake?
Behind the botanical gardens, on the South Ring Road, on both sides of it, but on the golf course and on the other side.
Okay, thank you.
Is there going to be security for the Cass Park or Cass Golf Course like there was a couple of years ago?
We do not have funding for that, unfortunately. You mean a security guard, right? Like a security company?
Security people that
Yeah.
ride around and.
Yeah, as of right now, we do not have funding or plans for that.
Balance
I hear you.
The damage and you said all the cans
Yeah.
and everything else. It's.
I hear you. I
And the
understand.
equipment that's being wrecked.
If we can find a sponsor or, we'll continue security, something
Did you
that
get any money
we,
from the city for that?
unfortunately, at this point, no. So, but
Mm.
Can you
On
get
that
an
note.
increased police presence?
yes, so this would help. If you see anything, please call 911. If it's not emergency, call 311, make a report. If it's related to health and human services, call 211 and
People
it's,
call all the time.
yes. So this
So
is
it doesn't do-
important.
That
'Cause
doesn't
we-
work.
We do the same
live
process.
adjacent.
Yeah,
Doesn't work.
we are trying to
You
build,
might get a
yeah,
response 3 hours. The kids are home sleeping.
yeah. I'm sorry.
So calling the police doesn't help.
We're trying to build relationships as well with our respective police departments. And we'll emphasize that as well.
Won't work.
Yeah.
You gotta have somebody there. I mean, quite simply, I lived there all my life. I'm adjacent to the golf course. It's, kids have been drinking back there
Yeah.
since I was a kid.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, drinking is one thing, but it's one, the noise, you should come there 1 o'clock in a week, nighttime. I mean, it's so loud and people call,
Yeah.
doesn't do any good.
How do they even get in there?
Getting in there's 50 ways to get in there.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
They walk through the backyards, you go walking right through, come back to Woodside, goes right back there to the road, right behind
Mhm.
my house. And on the other side, they come down through Onondaga. They climb the fence.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of ways to get in there. They can come in from Seneca Street real easily.
Well, as of right now, I can only say we're working on it. Continue to build that relationship and that connection there with the BPD. But it helps when the community, like yourself, supports us as a nonprofit. Because I don't live in the park, by the park. Like you live by the park, and ultimately your voice and your call means more than me at this.
I wish
yeah.
that was true, but it doesn't. I think you're right.
We'll keep working on it.
Get more
Yes.
funding is probably.
Yeah.
So you can just,
Mhm.
so you can afford it.
Many of the issues
Mhm.
that we've discussed today, we've said, we don't have the funding.
Yeah.
And so it really is a budgetary, like if we could fundraise,
Mhm.
as quickly as Central Park does, in a, one luncheon, they have their annual budget. Meanwhile, we're scrimping and scraping and fighting the city of Buffalo to get them to even pay their part, and, not to mention inflation over the years when they're, not even matching that, from what I understand. So come out and support the fundraisers, everybody. And get your friends out with it. We have a really robust annual gala.
I mean.
Every fall, and maybe we need to do a better job of advertising it, but
We rotate to every park every year, so different park every year.
yeah, and last year I was at South Park.
Yes.
And I totally agree with her, but don't you think the city of Buffalo should be
So,
giving us more money?
this is an association with parks. Their city of Buffalo Parks is strapped as well, and so is Erie County. Parks funding isn't, there's just, we're all struggling to fund all of these different parts of our.
Then why, if you go to other municipalities and look at their parks and look at their golf courses, completely different. I mean, if you're not a golfer, you wouldn't know, and they got a smaller budget than the city of Buffalo has. I mean, I just think that, and I don't know what voices we have to do with to work for you guys to get more money for, I'll give you an example. The lawnmowers.
Your city rep.
Yeah, and we do have one that's the council, the president of the council.
Right.
The lawnmowers, the mowers at Casanova Golf Course. They're struggling so badly. They had to cut these fairways 6-7 times, and they're still extremely, but because these lawnmowers have like over 10,000 hours on them. They came on the Mayflower.
That's right, and they cost $80 to $90.
Or you could go to Lisa, but you need help from the city from that. I mean, they should be giving us the funding for that.
Wouldn't that be great?
Well,
It would be,
it
but I
would be,
mean,
but
this was theirs at one point. I mean,
Yes, and
they let them take over, but then
worse job of
almost,
funding.
pardon?
They did a worse job at maintaining.
At times, yes, at times, because nobody was on them.
Right. Right.
They didn't have meetings like this. But I mean, that's where you gotta get some of your money from the city of Buffalo. I mean, I don't know how.
we're working on it.
I mean, fundraising is tough. I mean, everybody's fundraising.
Yes.
I mean, to get some of the, like lawnmowers, like she said, those lawnmowers are very expensive,
Yes, they are.
and you should see the golf course now, it's brutal.
Yes.
I mean, and people are paying to play there.
We have to go to the public hearing that is scheduled in the middle of May, at the common council.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
On the budget, there's.
I mean, you guys-
specifically on the budget.
you guys just need to get more money from it.
There's
I
gonna
mean,
be a
come on.
number.
You only do,
Okay, folks, we can't solve this problem here right now. Yes.
Going back to the drinking and the young kids,
Sure.
vandalism. It would probably have more clout if Olmsted coached the area high schools and.
Yeah.
Look at last weekend, it just tore the hell out of the 9 hole or something,
yeah,
Um,
Yep. And that is definitely, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sue.
That's definitely a strategy that we're trying to build more relationship with the BPS system and with the charter schools in the area to see how we can go to the root of education and to hopefully build
But
relationships
it's not
there.
only- But the
Um,
problem is,
Time and mercy and their parents.
To
the
your.
problem
to-
is, it's not only the school kids that are doing it. Legal age is 21, so where you go to the park. So it's just not them. Plus, they're not gonna listen. Their teachers were back here drinking just like they were.
So, yeah, as far as park,
It's one thing.
Well,
as far as
drinking,
park ambassadors.
what is, but drinking leads to other things.
Sure,
right,
Margaret,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, I respect this commentary and dialogue. As far as like ambassadors go, that is a conversation that we continue to have, and we continue to engage school groups through volunteer efforts, things like that. And I didn't mention this in my update about the Arboretum. However, myself and our newly
Christy,
appointed Christy.
yes.
She moved from volunteer coordinator. She was promoted to education and workforce development manager. And we're working with the Lackawanna Public Library to engage, really grades anywhere from toddlers to 8th, 9th grade. So we're working to create empathy, for the environment with these young people. But as we know, it will take time to develop that kind of relationship, and it's not it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right?
Yeah, doesn't solve it overnight.
Right.
It's gonna take a village.
And we are grateful that you're all here and that you care.
Yeah.
And we're a small but nimble team. We have a new director of development who's working on a lot of different grants, and so we'll have hopefully more good things to update next meeting.
Yes. But thank you. It really takes dedication from all of y'all to support us and to support the park. So we appreciate it. Sorry, we can't solve all the problems right now. I wish I could with a magic wand. But I did want to highlight programming partners for the year. We're continuing to build relationships across many nonprofits in the region, from invasive species to historical tours, birding with the Buffalo Audubon Society, and also gardening with grassroots gardens and their community gardeners in our MLK greenhouse. So many different elements here to build community and connection. And hopefully, and the benefit of this is we reach out to the audiences that they are serving, because we know that we can't reach every person or every community. And then hopefully our reach will get out and build more awareness overall for the Conservancy and people taking pride in building empathy for the parks, just like Margaret mentioned. If you're interested, we have many upcoming volunteer events in the parks. So Cass Park, a few invasive species removals, and in South Park, invasive species removals and also planting of annuals. I wanted to highlight that.
Can you
In
put
the-
up the
Oh, yeah,
volunteer
sure.
thing again? Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to mention that last week was Olmsted week, and we did go out to South and Cass Park to do a lot of volunteer work and planting of perennials, native perennials in both parks. So hopefully you can see some changes there. And this slide here is where you can sign up if you're interested in any of those, or you can just show up and I'm sure folks there will help you. And that's Joanne. And a photo of bench staining, like she mentioned. One of the most fun activities a volunteer can do. Yes.
I've noticed a fair number of people picking up litter in the park. Like today they were doing, I guess, before today's meeting. I don't know why they were out there today, because there wasn't a lot of litter. Was it volunteers through you folks out there today? There were several young men out there.
I'm not sure. Were they wearing orange? It might be a volunteer group.
I don't think they were wearing orange, as a matter of fact.
Usually if it's an orange like this shirt here, it's probably our staff, unless people like orange. But our seasonal workforce recently started, and it would take the seasonal workforce will continue to grow throughout the month of April, May. So it's not yet in like full force. We're having recruitments every week, but the seasonal workforce is spread throughout the park system, and they help support us in many different important tasks like trash pickup, because trash pickup is super crucial in the summer, especially with park use increasing. There's generally more trash around the park system.
I spent a couple hours the morning of the eclipse in Cass Park picking up litter.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just wanted to mention, when you volunteer to do that, they give you one of those grabber things. Well, what you can't pick up with the grabber is cigarette butts. And there were thousands and thousands of cigarette butts. And I didn't even take that grabber.
Yeah.
And I just, and I'm too old to do it. I spent 2 hours banging the open, getting a ball. And I don't know what we can do about it, but it really bugs me that the people who come in the park, smoke in their cars, then flick their butts out the window. Because there was, again, thousands of butts.
I know, and that's it. Every park.
I live on a corner
But-
and it's every day. You just-
Yeah, but my point is that they're never gonna get picked up if volunteers are just told.
Jean, 1 second. I have a highlight for the summer. I need to tell you. I swear. It's like the last thing.
You're not allowed to leave.
You need to know this because everyone calls you and you have to tell us. Okay, sorry, Art. The highlight of the summer is. Yeah. Let me just replay that again. Highlight for the summer. Oh, yes, the goats are coming. And they're coming to Cass Park to help remove invasive species.
How long will they be here?
2 weeks. So we're still in fundraising mode to get the goats here, but pretty sure we're good because we were able to get funding for security for the goats. We can't get security for the park, but we can get security for the goats. But this is extremely important because what the goats will be doing is they will be removing a whole bunch of invasive species that would take us so much man hours. And they trample and eat these knotweed, galtweed, lesser-salinine in a speed of goat speed. And so, yeah. So when they do that, it will allow us to have a clearer view of what's going on, especially with roundleaf bittersweet, which I think Margaret can share more if you want to know. It's a terrible vine and it's super thick and it chokes out a lot of trees that we want there to survive. And it also will allow us to plant more native species to hopefully outcompete the invasive species.
So they're gonna be up and down the creek? Is that where
It's-
you're putting them?
I don't actually know.
Yeah,
So
I
my
can't
workforce, I know, sorry.
Many.
My workforce development manager gave me a photo, but it doesn't show me an overall look. I don't really know exactly where,
Yeah.
but basically it's one area of the creek.
How many
Yeah.
goats are coming?
I don't know that, but it's a van of
Probably
goats.
because my
Yeah.
house, my property runs right up to Castle Creek,
Mhm.
right before the golf course there, so probably behind my house, but I keep the goats.
Oh my gosh, no. Oh yeah, you don't have to feed. I'm pretty sure this is the site more, I think it's not really by the golf course side, I believe.
Just on the golf course?
I don't think it's, I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think it is. Yeah.
Good work, everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a
Bye.
great night.
I think it's like, Abbott and Porter, like that entrance again,
Potter.
and then like how Warren Square kind of goes like through the park. I think it's like right there under the creek itself.
Yeah.
So we'll keep everyone posted.
Are they trained only to eat invasive species? Or they
I
eat
don't
everything?
think
They eat
so.
everything they
Yeah.
can.
They literally gotta pull them out of there because they'll lead it to everything to the ground.
Oh my God.
But luckily,
The
it's all
Japanese-
invasives in that area. so-
Yeah.
Like Japanese knotweed has taken over.
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it's killed everything underneath it.
They just take
So
over.
bad.
It
And like I
was
said, the vines are killing, I
Yeah.
mean, they're like this, they're killing the trees.
About
Yeah.
100 years ago, the Japanese knotweed was seen as this beautiful plant because I mean the flowers are quite pretty. but
Yeah,
In
As we know
August,
now, it
Yeah.
is just it's horrific.
horrific.
Yes.
they grow faster than marijuana.
Well, I've heard that it's edible.
Yes.
Yum,
The young
so much.
shoots
Really?
are like a rhubarb. I made a rhubarb.
Let's do it for fundraising. Let's cut it all.
Interesting.
Like a cobbler. I made a rhubarb cobbler, like it's on the
Knotweed?
same, yeah, with knotweed, but you have to get the juvenile ones.
Oh.
The very
Oh.
tender, small.
And the root system
Yeah.
is unbelievable. I try to get them out of my yard. And
It's a
they
headache.
go, they're like the phone company,
Interesting.
man, the white, they go 3 feet down, the
Wow.
roots.
So I wanted to share a little bit more about invasive species management. So this is Christy. She is amazing and
Yes.
lovely. So the goats thing is part of the invasive species management plan, and she also manages a group of volunteers with the ISAT group, Invasive Species Management Task Force, and a lot of these volunteers are so dedicated, and anyone who, if you're interested, you're welcome to join. Basically, each volunteer is tasked with a zone to monitor and help with invasive species observation. So, and if they're interested, they can help with removal or like picking berries to prevent more further pollination and all that stuff. But mainly to observe and making sure, like, kind of helping us to track the growth and also the level of intensity of some of these species. So it's a work in progress. This is Christie's, I would say, second year going into working in this management plan, but it's also been, I would say, the Conservancy's most focused we've ever been with invasive species in the past years that I've been here, at least. So we're super excited and always looking for volunteers if anyone's interested. And that's all for me. Any questions or anyone want to raise any other concerns or ideas?
Just a couple for the golf course.
Sure.
Drinking fountain, been broken for a couple of years.
Where, do you know which hole is it near?
Yes, it's between 7 green and 5 tee.
I'm not a golfer, so I have no idea what you're talking about. 7 green and 5.
Tee. Right there. It's kind of in between, so you can catch it when you're going to the dump. You can catch it twice.
Okay.
And she's talking about benches. 3 benches on the senior tees, actually. The maintenance people had knocked them down, and the pads are still there, but there's stumps there. Little tree stumps that people sit on. So I'd like to see benches back there. That would be nice.
This is in Cass Golf Course.
Yes. I mean, there's 3 of them. 1 on 3 hole, and 1 on 5 hole, and 1 on 7 hole.
Oh my
Maintenance
gosh,
people
you know
knocked them
this.
down. And
I'm sorry, nice.
they didn't, they replaced them and they put stumps. They literally put 3 stumps.
I wonder,
Two stumps
they
in
might,
some
I
way.
wonder what's the reason, like maybe there was a reason behind, so let us
They
check
come up
it.
with all different reasons. One reason is that a couple of years ago, they thought, oh yeah, we got them, we just have to install them, which wasn't. Well, and then they say, of course, the expense. But the pads are already there. All they need is a bench, and we don't care. I mean, there's all kinds of, they said, well, we want all the benches to be the same. Well, that's not true either. Because there's a marble bench on number 1, there's a marble bench on number 3, and there's a wooden bench on number 4 that they put up like 2 years ago.
So the 4-1, I actually had that installed, someone that bought that.
Yeah, Kelchin, Gary Kelchin, I think.
Yeah, the 2 marble ones, they're memorials too.
Yes,
The marble ones, I'm not aware of when they were implemented. but those
last
are
2 years
outside.
ago. The one, and the other one was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Those are not our standard benches.
No,
So if
they're not.
something happened to that bench, like, I don't believe it's on my side to take care of them.
No, but
And then
somebody did have them installed, and somebody was from Olmsted that had them installed.
And then there are the black steel benches.
Right.
Or like the city benches. So
Right.
if we have leftover of those, we can, I'll see if we can install that for those locations.
That would be, like I said, the pad is there, and that would be they're on the senior tees too, the seniors, the old people.
It's, yeah, I
like
would
to
love to
sit
see
down.
more benches. Like all of guys, that is definitely something that I would want to push. If you guys like want to push for more benches that has, this is the place for it.
Joanne's your gal for benches.
I'm a bench gal here. Like, I'm really up for it. And I'm on your side. Yeah, I'll see if we can get a city bench.
Yeah, any bench would be wonderful.
Yeah, I can't make.
I mean, obviously, it's gotta be nailed down to the,
Yeah, because if. Yeah, you
between
don't
the
want
kids
that
and the
to fall.
maintenance people, but that's what happens. I mean, they say the kids wrecked them, but that was just an excuse, the maintenance people. Because those are wrought iron ones, man, you can't do nothing with those. I mean, they had to run into it with the lawnmowers, what happened, quite honestly. And, they take them off. And at the time, I'm sure that could have been repaired and put back on again. But they decided they didn't want to take the blame for it and took them away instead.
We'll look into it and we'll see what's going on. Thank you. Sorry about that. We got you. We will look into it, and depending on availability and what money we have in the budget for benches.
Cheap ones would be good too. I don't care. Well, cheap, nice looking ones. I know you want to keep everything.
Any other questions?
I just want to mention again, the common council was having a public hearing in the middle. I can't remember if it was 14th or the 17th to talk about the budget. And if there's gonna be a 9% increase in our taxes, now's the time to be demanding that part of that go into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We can't sit here frankly and say over and over and over again, we need
You're
more money
absolutely right.
without going and telling them to their face. And I don't find it helpful that we have a councilman who is now the common council president. He needs to hear from all of us.
Yeah, I know, a
100%.
couple times he was here. I did talk to him about a couple of things. Be nice if he was here. Just saying, I mean, there's a guy that now he's the council president, which he's got more pull than he can, get funds. I mean,
He's gonna be.
I mean,
the next mayor.
they keep raising the green
Thank
space and everything over Cass, and yet we're getting less. That's always,
Mhm.
and part of our taxes, I'm sure, go to maintenance of the golf course also.
Sure.
I'm just saying, and I know you guys are strapped, like, you only can do so much. You know, say more.
I will say that, like, if you try a bench through like through me, essentially through POPC, like that bench will be installed for sure.
What are those benches run? What do those benches run?
They're 5,000. They're taken care of for perpetuity. Those benches are
Well,
quite expensive.
I mean, that's a little expensive for a bench.
I respectfully understand why that sounds expensive. However, I want to applaud Joanne. I mean, Joanne has done extensive research, and if you look in our area and in other neighboring cities and across the country, that expense is actually not, it's not too high. And I'd be happy to share that with you. I know it seems very high, but taking care of something into perpetuity forever is a long time.
Well, I don't go along with that. Come on. They don't even they haven't taken care of the ones that were over there. Otherwise, you guys would have known that they were missing.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you prefer, I mean, I'm not saying you can make this change immediately, but would you be open or prefer to have like smaller pockets of time to buy a bench? For instance, commemorate someone for 10 years. So
I mean, I'm on the board of directors over there, but that would be a hard push.
you mean you wouldn't want to purchase a bench for someone that you care for, a loved one, or for 10 or 15 years?
That I don't know what I
And
can't say.
I've
Yeah,
had
at this
the
point.
That's
pleasure
okay.
of like, hearing people who like work like with different people, like they fundraise essentially for a bench. And then someone actually has like the plaque, and then the recipient would like be able to.
Who initially put the benches in?
Who initially put the benches in?
Over at the golf course, the ones that are there now,
All of the black ones are
the
city,
black ones.
benches,
Yeah, I
right?
don't know when that was like implemented. I don't take care of those benches, to be honest with you. Like,
But
I
they were
merely sell the commemorative benches. Or in
Yeah.
honor.
But those should be supplied by the city because we pay to play over there. I mean, just to sit down. I mean, I don't think that's too much asking the city to put benches in.
I mean, we'll
Ask him at the public hearing.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Then they'll say, oh, no, Olmsted will take care of that. You know how that goes.
Well, but talking to us doesn't mean anything.
No, I agree with everything you're saying, like.
Yes.
One last thing, this whole session has made me feel terrible that I've spent my 48-year legal career doing public interest law and making no money instead of becoming wealthy so I can just give you guys a ton of money.
I know,
And
Art.
now I wish, I feel really bad. I hadn't felt bad until this moment.
Don't
I'm not
feel
being
bad.
affluent.
Yeah. No, don't feel bad. You guys being here is more than we can ask for. Thank you. And I didn't get to what Jean was talking about, but basically we're trying to be creative to hopefully get more people to come to meetings. So I don't know, open to ideas. Should we do it as a happy hour? I don't know. Open to different things, whatever that we can do. Or maybe we should go to the people and where people are gathering already and have, so instead of the regular public meeting, yeah, so if you have any ideas, I'm all yours. Thank you, Sarah.
Everybody likes that.
Great.
How many people did
Yeah.
you-
Sure.
We had 2 on
That
Zoom.
was amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your neighbor, but
I think
I
someone,
mean,
thank you.
these meetings, you should have a lot more people.
I
I
know,
love that.
the
Oh, that's
weather
great. May
and
I,
the,
Yes,
take
thank
an
you,
email?
thank
Sure.
you. So it would be.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know
Weather should
either.
have Be a factor.
I think a lot of times people come to meetings when they have something to complain about. So I'm kind of glad that
Thank you so much.
no
I
one has
appreciate it.
anything to complain about.
Complain. Is it at email?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I know. Don't worry.
Thank you for your positive personality.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Yeah, DANI.
Yeah, yeah.
At Yahoo.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I'll be able to help out with some of these invasive
Oh, great.
things so that I'm.
I know.
Well, then
So
I will-
playground's basically gonna be in the same footprint that it is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much, it's what I thought.